Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another live stream with me, Dave from A to B Biking. Hello, all you wonderful people of the internet. On this 1st of October, another month, another happy day in the A to B world, another happy day because we get to go ride bikes, and that is a good day. How you guys all doing? Hopefully we'll wait for a few minutes before we really dive into things here today. We'll let a couple of other peeps hop on the live stream there today, which will be pretty epic. And all in one, hello. Glad you could jump on here and join us. Much appreciated. Thanks all of you guys for hopping on here. Rad to see we got some peeps in the chat already. Yo, sup, Casper but cringe. What's up, my dude? How's it going? Guys, it is officially sunny in Cape Town again. Radness. Finally get to go out and go ride bikes. I got to go ride bikes this morning, so always a good day. It has been storming here with us. Cape Town, the winter has just been excessive over the last while. It has just been raining. And anyway, washing away all our trails. But you know what that means? It means we go get to swing spade, build new trails, and yeah, do all that rad stuff, man. That make some new stuff happen as well. So there's a bunch of like roads washed away. I don't know where you guys are all from. Maybe pop it down in the chat as well. That'd be cool. I'd love to know where you guys are from, where you guys are tuned in from. Hit me up. I'd love to know. Put it in the chat. Down there. And yeah, love to see where you guys are all up from. Just came back from a ride. Sick. Pivot cat. Hell yeah. That's what I like to hear. People out for riding. I managed to get out for a ride this morning as well. Even if I don't know English, I will watch your channel. That is what is up, my friend. I appreciate you big time, my friend. First of the month. Yes, sir. Another month, another good month. Under the bag, in the belt. One of those. Switching around all over the show. England. Damn. Oscar. Hell yeah. Sick, dude. Epic. And Poland, Greece, Polish. Legends. Absolute legends. That is sick. Like I say, I'm like, yeah, I'm busy moaning about the rain and stuff. And like the guys from England are probably like, dude, that's just our everyday life. That is just the complete norm in England as well. So, but for us, yeah, like, dude, it's sunny outside now, but it just feels like winter's dragged. I'm tired of winter now. I'm ready for because we're the opposite to you guys. So we have summer and winter and vice versa. So we just had our winter, now we're coming into summer. So finally starting to get going again and get riding weather. So I actually went out this morning. There's a place called Takai, and that place holds up real good in the wet, man. That's probably one of the best places that you can go ride after storms and stuff like we've been having. So like our current local trail kind of goes down like one forest, but it's like right at the bottom, so like a ravine, and dude, it's like completely washed away. So I don't know if you guys have ever had that as well, but like all over the show, the flipping half the trail is just gone. Like I don't even know. Anyway, let's have a look. Where else are you guys from? England, Poland, there we go, Greece. Been playing 3 years with the bikes. India, hell yeah, India, nice, dude. I got a lot of supporters from India. Appreciate you guys as well. So yeah, much appreciated. Jordan, damn, dude, I have a good friend from Jordan actually. One of my best school buddies is from Jordan. He is a pro golfer and he manages a golf shop out there. So how's the weather in Jordan today? I can hit him up later and tell him something interesting about Jordan. Give me a good interesting fact about Jordan. But yeah, anyway. So yeah, man, we have been busy in the A to B world. I have been getting some videos done, shooting. I'm actually going shooting again this afternoon. So I've done like 3 video shoots today, and not today. What am I talking about? In the last week. So I've managed to clock in 3 videos. So you guys will be seeing a bunch more videos coming your way pretty soon. So I've got some pretty interesting stuff. I did a stair video actually. So one of the guys was asking in the last live stream, and he was like, dude, you should do one on stairs. And best believe we done one on stairs, and best believe your boy nearly died riding down a road bike on stairs. Don't do it. Do as I say, not as I do. Don't ride downstairs on road bikes. It is not a smart idea. But it's a lot of fun. I'm pretty excited about that video, so that'll probably be airing maybe next week sometime as well, which is pretty epic. And yeah, so cool. Hello A to B, Lego tuning. What is up, sir? It's gonna rain in Jordan. What? I didn't even. My friend says it's always dry there. So I didn't even realize it rained that much there. I know that place is gonna be real big, real warm, hot, sunny, humid, all that sort of good jazz. The blue smile. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of you guys. And yeah, man, I appreciate you guys hopping on here as well. 30K, let's skulls. Thank you very much. Much appreciated. Honestly, still can't believe we have come this far. The fact that we have got 30K subscribers on this channel means the world to me. You guys mean the most to me. And yeah, appreciate you guys hopping on here. This is my kind of way of giving back. So when you guys jump on here with me, if you got any questions, if you got any suggestions, if you guys have got any thoughts, pop it down in the chat. If you got any questions you want from me, stuff coming up, you want to see video ideas, that's actually the thing I was going to do today is if you guys have got any cool video ideas, I'd love for you to put in the chat and see if I can make it come to life and make it a reality, because I don't know, man, I really enjoy like just kind of the creative side of bringing an idea to life and obviously incorporating you guys as well. You guys are what's making this happen. So if you have a cool video idea, don't really care what it is, put it down in the chat, and maybe we can do a vote later down in this live stream as well, and we can see if we can bring something like that to life. And yeah, brainstorm, hit that up. So, and I don't know if you guys saw yesterday's video. Pretty cool. We did a tour at the C6 factory, which is, the guys are in Cape Town, just down the road from me actually, and it's how to make a bike part, which is actually flipping epic. So there's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into the process. So obviously each part, or like all parts, are very different as well. Like not one part is ever the same to make, but there's like a bunch of different ways you can make bike parts and stuff. So these guys have a bunch of CNC milling machines, so which is very similar to Hope. I'm sure all you guys have heard of Hope components, but Hope does a lot of CNC milling machines. So, and they do a lot of anodizing. So all the colors that you get, it's a process called anodizing. So if you get like gold parts and blue parts and green parts and who knows, all the other colors of rainbow that you can picture and imagine, these guys will do that as well. So that's pretty flipping cool, man. Like there's all the different processes and there's quite a lot of science behind it. So I don't know if you guys know a lot about it, if you've ever looked from it, like where stuff comes from as well. But it's super interesting, man. Like how stuff is made, put on the bike, tested. Obviously, there's like actually a lot more back end stuff that goes into making parts, right? Because you can't just put a bike, like a part in a bike, and if it fails and like somebody gets hurt, like that's a pretty serious problem for people, man. So like you actually have to be pretty considerate. Like there's a lot of like back end engineering that goes into making parts, which is pretty cool. So like guys will make handlebars and stems and stuff, and then like rigorously test that stuff. Because can you imagine, like I think that might just be everyone's like worst nightmare. Can you imagine like snapping a stem or a handlebar? I remember when I used to race downhill. One time I remember seeing like footage and photos of a dude snapping a handlebar, and it was probably one of the gnarliest crashes I've ever seen. So it was just not a fun thing. And the dude was doing like 45, 50 Ks an hour, which is like, what's that, 30 miles, 35 miles per hour around there. So, I mean, that's pretty fast to snap a handlebar and be going like OTB and just, you know, doing a lot of damage to yourself. So anyway, these parts are obviously all rigorously tested, and there's like specific standards and stuff that are met when parts get made as well. So for example, it's called ISO standards. Parts have certain specs that they have to hit in terms of strength. So they'll put a stem and put that stem in like onto a test rig, and that test rig will actually fluctuate under certain load, and you can basically load it in different ways, and it'll replicate like somebody riding, but like excessive use, and like basically just loading it in like worst possible way. So if you picture it like your handlebars like that, and it's clamped in the middle, like with your stem. This is obviously not a real representation, guys. This is me YOLOing this representation. And if you put a lot of force down at the end, like that thing can take almost like, it's more than you standing on there. And I'm like, well, me standing on there, and I'm like, what, 85 kilograms? And I think it can take quite a bit more than that as well. So I don't know what that is in pounds, but we use kilos in South Africa. But that's like, it's a hell of a lot of weight as well that's going into those handlebars, and obviously that's rigorously tested, and you know it's quite an intense load that'll be on that handlebar. But yeah, very interesting. Parts are tested rigorously before they come out to you as well. They obviously have to look good, otherwise people don't want to buy them. I mean, nobody wants to buy like a part that just looks bang average as well. So like I wouldn't want to put a part that's on my bike that looks pretty avs as well. So, and I don't think any of you guys would either as well. So I mean, we live in the day and age of like, I'm pretty sure like mountain bikes are peaking. I don't really see how we get much better than where we're at in the bike industry. I'm happy to hear other people's opinions on this, but suspension, frames, components, like everything is like it's the same as like with cars. Like we are just cruising, like the technology rate that we have hit is just so insane that like it's just such an excessive curve, or like exponential curve, of how good bikes have gotten. I mean, if you look back like 15 years of how far we've gotten in terms of bikes and suspension and everything else that goes into this, it's pretty nuts, man. Like it's pretty like insane of how far we've come with like progression in terms of damping, you know, what you can ride, the options you have. I mean, downhill bikes weren't even a thing 15 years ago. I mean, that was like a foreign concept. Guys, dudes are racing down hills. I don't know how many of you guys are downhill fans at all. I'm pretty sure you guys are. You guys are all legends, so you must be fans of downhill. But downhill racing used to be dudes on these old clapped out like mountain bikes of whatever they could get at the time. It looks like a hardtail cross country bike in today's day and age. And anyway, these dudes would race down these fire roads at like Mach 10. Like it was insane, dude. Like and like they would have like a potty helmet on. They didn't have like full face helmets. They would have like chest protection that the motor guys, motocross and like moto dudes use, because mountain bike protection wasn't a thing, or like full body protection wasn't a thing back in the day. So it was, dude, downhill used to be gnarly when it first evolved. And the tracks were super long as well. These guys were just like, they just used to take themselves up to the top of the nearest mountain, and like the fastest they could get from the top to the bottom on like Jeep track and dirt roads and stuff. It was insane, man. It was actually insane, of how like the evolution of downhill, and obviously because of the bikes and stuff, like how they evolved. Like, I mean, nowadays when you look at the stuff, like, I don't know if you guys watched the downhill yesterday in snowshoe in the USA in West Virginia, but that was insane. Like, it just, every time I watch one of these races, it blows my mind, because firstly, the guys are just so fast, and the fact that there has been 7 winners in 7 races is just a testament to how good people are riding nowadays. And it's, again, the bikes are good, the teams are good, like everything is just good. Like, where does the sport stop? Like, where's the pinnacle, if that makes sense? Like, is the pinnacle pushed with guys that are learning from a young age? And like, you know, how do we get better? I mean, you look at the likes of Jackson Goldstone. The dude basically was born in Whistler, and for me, that is like the pinnacle. Like, dudes are going to be coming out like that. People are going to be these kids nowadays, like, it's going to be a school sport. These dudes are going to do this full time. They're going to be born into bike parks, like just living the absolute best life, like basically born into a bike park. I mean, how can you not get good with that? Like, your access to resources, you've got ski lifts, you've got like 24/7 like mountain biking meccas of the world. Like, imagine growing up in Whistler, dude. Like, I mean, that would be insane. That's probably like my dream. I would love to go ride there. I don't know, have you guys ridden there? Where's the coolest place you've been? I've ridden in Morzine, but I've never ridden in Whistler. That's like one of my bucket list places to check off. I would love to go check that out. So, dude, that's just like an incredible place to go ride. So yeah, I'm gonna hop back into the chat and have a look who says what here. I really love biking. Ahmed Better YT, yes sir. Even me, you and me both. We both love bikes, my friend. That is why we are here. And I'm pretty sure some of the other dudes and watching and people in the chat also love bikes. And that's yeah. I'm thinking to make an enduro bike track or something fun that can improve my biking. Do you have any experience in making tracks or something you can recommend to me? I actually very much do have experience in that field, funny enough. So Lego, that is a great question. So enduro bike track, it depends obviously what kind of mountains you've got there. Like, I mean, let me know have you got like a mountain nearby? How long is the track? All that sort of jazz. But anyway, I'll give you kind of my like background and where I got a little bit of experience from, and definitely made like a big impact in my riding. But I was about 13 or so at the time, couldn't drive. There was no mountains nearby. I lived in a pretty flat town in Johannesburg, South Africa. And anyway, I was like, one of my friends introduced me to mountain biking. I was like, that's what I want to do. I would love to do that. Anyway, I got besotted, like super, super excited about going riding. And anyway, figured out how to get a mountain bike. Got a clapped out old Giant with a little bit of back suspension. It had a Marzocchi triple clamp front. And anyway, I was like, cool, I got the bike, I got the kit. And my friends had taken me riding once or twice, but I couldn't drive anywhere. There was no tracks nearby. I couldn't go riding any downhill or enduro track. So what I ended up doing is I built a bunch of dirt jumps. And that was like absolute fundamental in the foundation of my riding. Look back at it now, and if I hadn't built those dirt jumps, I don't think I would have progressed and gotten where I am today in terms of my riding. I think it's a very different thing, and it's just pointing case of like, that is what I had access to, and you know, that was what like I had, and that I made the best of it. If I had otherwise like other options, I 100% would have explored that. But dirt jumps are a great one to invest in, spend a bit of time, like build yourself, like even just like a 5-pack or a jump set nearby. great start for anybody riding. Like if you can get near to like dirt jumps and stuff, like dirt jumps are one of those skills that if you're a downhiller, if you're an enduro rider, if you're a cross country rider, BMX, whatever it is, if you dirt jump, that like falls into all the other areas. It's going to improve all of your other riding as well. It's not just going to improve like one area. Like if you race cross country, the chances of you being good at downhill enduro is pretty slim. If you're good at enduro, you might be like average at downhill, and like your cross country fitness might not be there. If you're downhill, like you'd be good like technically, but you won't have the uphill, like some of the other skills as well. Dirt jumping is one of those skills that apply, like overall it's just a really, really good bike skill, and it's like a fundamental one to kind of go like use. So very good advice just off the start. I'm going to get back to your other question as well, Lego, but if you can, my first point of call is make sure you have access to dirt jumps as well. Like even if you can only build an enduro track and you can build a bunch of jumps at the bottom, go build a bunch of jumps at the bottom. Bike handling skills on dirt jumps are probably one of the best ways you can improve your riding, because it's got everything, right? It's got bike handling skills, the ability to move the bike in the air, understanding how the bike's going to react when you're hitting jumps, takeoffs, allowing the bike to move around underneath you, understanding speed. Speed is very important as well, like speed management. Like sometimes you can go down a hill and you can ride and you can like let off as fast as you want, but understanding what actual speed management is very important. Like how fast you need to hit a jump to not case and not over jump and just kind of hit that right, and then obviously applying the right skill to get up and over that. But speed management is also like it's a fundamental one that'll fall under the blanket or like umbrella of dirt jumping. So really good skill if you can. So jumps, always a favorite one. And the difference between normal jumps and dirt jumps is that dirt jumps are a lot more steep, right? So dirt jumps you'll be going a lot higher in order to jump, where a lot of like enduro downhill trails, like they're a little bit more like flat. So you can kind of rely a little bit more on speed. So the actual skill that you're gonna like value you'll pull out of a dirt jump is the ability to go high and learn to navigate, like go a little bit slower, learn to pop a little bit more, learn to be comfortable in the air, learn how to eject, learn all those other skills as well. So let's have a look. GD Vertigo, 2 no suspension mountain bikes and a hardtail, all of them have V brakes. All right, okay. Well, I'm gonna answer your original question of an enduro track. When you're building an enduro track, it depends on what kind of stuff you have access to. So firstly, do you have like a long, steep mountain? Is it rocky? What is the terrain like? Obviously, you want to maximize that, like all those sort of little things as well. So, I mean, I would just incorporate kind of whatever's on there. So very good idea to start off with whenever building a trail is walk it first. So figure out where you want to start, like where's the easiest access point at the top, because obviously it's going to be pretty far. Can you ride there? What's the quickest way to ride there? Where's the exit point where you're going to finish this trail? And then walk it a few times, like spend a day like walking it and be like, okay, cool, there's a feature here, there's a feature there, there's a feature here. And then figure out how you can link those, right? So they're like work your way from here to here, like to the first feature, make it interesting in between there, work your way to the second feature, make it interesting between there, and then work your way to the finish. So first thing would be like find where your start and finish are. Make sure you got easy access. Like you don't want to start like build a trail from the bottom up. That's a terrible idea. Start from the top where you can get access to easily, and then finish near the bottom where you can also get access to easily, and then you can link everything else. And then it's just about your creativity. Whatever your like kind of mind can imagine, you want to be able to piece out the world's your like piece out. Who says that? Anyway, I don't know. That was a brain fart, guys. I'm sorry. You want to kind of just let your mind run a little bit. I've also always said like trail building is quite a creative and like art almost. Like it takes a lot of skill and creativity to build something that's fun and like enjoyable for people to ride, because you have to kind of put out and figure out how to make something as fun as possible, right? You could take a trail from the top to the bottom and make one straight line, but we all know in this chat, if you ride a bike, that's boring as shit. Like nobody's going to want to ride it like a track from top to bottom. That's why we don't ride Jeep track. That's why like single track exists, is because people want to ride like stuff that's fun, right? So the more fun you can have from getting from point A to point B is better, right? So, and then understanding it takes a lot of time as well. Like the first time you're going to build berms, or if you build a track, for example, it'll take you a little bit of time understanding that you can make a corner too tight, or you make it too shallow. You can like sometimes if you make it too tight, it's going to like you'll shoot you out the corner in the wrong direction. You're like, oh well, I was kind of hoping it was going to shoot me in a different direction, and it doesn't. But that's all part of the building and learning curve. So I spent a lot of time as a kid building a lot of dirt jumps because that's what I really enjoyed, and it gave me good building experience because I could understand like how to build berms, how to carry speed, like how to maintain speed, how to build lips, how to build kickers, and then obviously when you build, one of the things is like an unwritten rule of building is if you build something, you're the test dummy. It's if you build something dumb, it's your obligation to hit it. You are obliged. That is like the normal rule of building. So if you build a jump that you're like, I wonder, is this gonna work? I have no idea how fast I gotta hit this the first time, and then you come in and you're like, it's you that's got to hit that. You can't build something else and then expect somebody else to hit it. It's yeah. And I've had my fair share of fails, which is often the fun part, and that's how you figure out how to build better jumps and all the other good jazz that comes with it, and how to make sure that for next time. Oh, that was maybe a little bit ambitious on my part. I shouldn't have built that jump as high as my head for the first time. And yeah, we live and we learn, and we have scars to prove otherwise. And apparently, chicks dig those. So yeah, shout out. Let's have a look. I wanted to hop back into the chat quickly, see what else he's saying. I hope that answered your question, Lego. Let me know if that made sense and if you guys appreciate that, and like if you have any other questions on that. Like I say, I love building as well. I'm a little bit sad because I mentioned in the beginning of this chat or this live, but there has been massive storms, and there was an insane storm last weekend, and that washed away our favorite trail. And like Murphy's Law, we've spent the last 2 months building there like once or twice a week to like fix the trail up because it got a little bit hammered with previous rain, and we're like, oh, the rain's done. Now like the road, it washed the road away, it washed the trail away. It basically, we built in like a riverbed, which was like bigger picture, probably not the smartest thing to have done, but it is what it is. So we live and we learn, huh? But anyway, now our trail's gone, so I'm a little bit sad about that. So anyway, yeah, shout out. Anyway, I was going back to the chat. That's actually where I was going. I started when I was 9 or something. Damn, that's pretty cool, man. Is starting a biking channel hard? That is a great question. That is pretty rare that you got to start when you were 9, Ahmed. That is pretty flippin' cool. I wish, like, I don't know. I've always got that like torn innerness of like, would I have started sooner? Like, but starting at that age is a pretty cool thing to do. I always feel like one of those, like starting something is rather like at any point of your life is a pretty good thing. Like, it doesn't matter whether you started late or early. Anyway, is starting a biking channel hard? This is a very fun question, and I could probably bore you guys for hours on how all of this goes, but I'm pretty passionate about it, so I'm going to answer it. Yes and no. I think there's a lot that goes into it. So there is a little bit more than just being like, hey, I want to make a mountain biking channel. Cool. What do you want to make mountain biking about? So there's how to, there's fails, there's all of this sort of stuff. And it's you need to figure out what your niche is. So something that for me didn't occur until a while ago, something I probably like when I started out, it occurred to me, but like I didn't understand it fully. And anyway, I'd figured out, so a lot of people had said online, X, Y, and Z, and do this and do this. So when you start a channel, find a niche. So I said, okay, cool, mountain biking is my niche. And I started putting out mountain biking content. So I put out anything mountain biking related. It was downhill riding, it was GoPro stuff, it was interviews, it was all this sort of like, whatever mountain biking content, like related content I could do, I would put it out online. And basically I'd put it out. I didn't have I started out with a lot of the stuff on YouTube as well. And anyway, like it kind of worked, but not great. And I was like, okay, cool. And as I learned a little bit more, I started to understand what people meant by niche down and figure out what your niche is because even within mountain biking, you have a whole bunch of different niches, right? So, you have people who are religious about downhill. You have people who are religious about enduro. You have people who are religious about cross country. You have people who love e-bikes. You have people who love cheap bikes. You have people who love maintaining bikes. You have people who love mountain bike entertainment. And then you have people who love mountain bike how-to, of like how-to skills, how to improve, what to do. All of these are different niches. So these all fall under the umbrella of mountain biking, right? So you still have to pick one, which is what I've now started to understand and I've got a better grasp on. So I've picked one niche and I've stuck with that, and that has worked a lot better for me. So knowing that, yes, starting a mountain bike channel isn't the easiest thing in the world. It is a very rewarding thing to do, and I do love it to bits. I love to spend time with you guys as well. It is also very rewarding, is because I love mountain bikes. I love making like content about mountain bikes. And YouTube allows me an opportunity to connect with you guys and actually put my content out there. And yeah, so it is also a lot of work that goes into this. I mean, I've spent the better part of I work a 9 to 5, and I spend a full day. Like I calculated the other day, I spend more than 24 hours a week working on A to B. So there's a lot of time. It takes a lot. Like I have to shoot after hours. I have to script after hours. I spend a lot of time doing all this stuff, but the end goal is that I get to do this full time. And if I can do this full time, I will be the happiest man alive, because this is such a rad job of being able to do this, talk bikes, banter with you guys on lives, and like even with you guys online, and figure out how to help you guys and what to do. And so it's a very rewarding thing for me. Like I say, I think it is a very rewarding thing. So to answer your question, is it hard? No, it takes a lot of work. It doesn't necessarily have to be hard work, but it is consistent work. And if you put in consistent work, I think anybody can do it. And I think a lot of guys have already started doing that. I mean, there's a couple other dudes out there. There is the likes of Joe, the Colorado kid. He has been a pretty big inspiration for me in my channel and my content. And he is more in the sort of humorous and relatable space. And he hit 100,000 subscribers a little while ago. And he is also, like me, more focused on the short form content. But also, like, I don't know how that dude does it, because he has he's married with 2 kids. He works a full-time job, and he has the mountain bike channel that he runs full-time. And I promise you, like, I try to reply to comments all the time. Like, I spend a lot of time engaging with people, trying to figure out like how I can help people and what I can do. And Joe will reply to everything. He replies to me, to everybody, to all of his like socials, whether it's TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, you name it. The man is out there grinding people. He is. So I take my hat off to him. But anyway, he's been in a big inspiration as well. He was actually one of the dudes. He was like pretty happy to share a lot of his journey with me as well. We hopped on a call pretty early on. Like, I mean, before I'd even hit 10K subscribers, he was kind enough to hop on a call with me. And like I say, we still chat to this day and kind of like touch base and ask him for advice and stuff whenever possible. And like I say, I don't know if you guys have checked him out. Go check him out, Colorado Kid on YouTube. You will love his stuff. Brilliant, very relatable. He's also like, sometimes like people just find their niche, and or like they're calling, and like this man has found his calling. He is brilliant at what he does. Like the way he portrays his humor and stuff, like, yeah, it's just brilliant. You guys can go check it out sometime as well. Anyway, back to the chat. I want to go have a look what you guys are saying. MTB for life. Yo, what's up? What is up to you, my friend? That is rad. I think I answered that. Crikey, there's a lot of comments in here now. Let's go. Waffles, hi. What's up, Waffles? How you doing today, sir? Welcome to the 1st of October live stream with A to B Biking. Me, Dave. Glad to have you here, my friend. It's basically a huge place with just dirt, Lego. Yeah, man. Like I say, that's pretty rad. Let me know if it's like, if there's a lot of hills, if there's gradient, you can maximize. That's probably like the best factor for building a trail is gradient. So anyway, you've got a hill. If you don't have a hill, but you have a lot of dirt that you can move, dirt jumps, bro. Dirt jumps, dirt jumps, dirt jumps, dirt jumps. I'm gonna say it till it's coming out of my ears. Do I prefer a water bottle or a Camelback? Waffles, that is a great question, my friend. I do prefer a water bottle. Although I used to ride with a Camelback quite frequently, but very much situation dependent. I personally hate having a lot of stuff on my body, so I don't like having stuff on my back because I kind of feel like I just, on a long day, it sweats, it sits heavy, it moves around, especially when you're jumping and stuff. Like Camelbacks now, they sit pretty tight, so they don't move around too much, but I don't like the weight distribution. So for me, I prefer getting all of my stuff, whether it's the water bottle or whatever it is. I like getting onto my bike. So like I put on my spares as much as I can onto my bike. C6 does a cool thing that's called on-frame storage. So it's like a little strappy boy, and you can put like your tire. So what I put is there, I put a spare tube, like a bomb adapter, all those sort of goods. I put it onto my frame, and I get it pretty low down. Like I like having a lot of weight like around the BB, so like a lower distribution of my weight between the wheels. I often find that like works good. I don't like unweighting the bike in like odd ways. So like I won't ever strap stuff to near the head tube or like the front or like right at the back. Like I'll try to get it as low as I can. So often where the water bottle sits there for a reason, because it's like a nice low center of weight, and it spreads your weight nice and evenly. It keeps like things running smooth, and you can kind of just cruise and float from there. So yeah, I prefer having stuff off of my body. So water bottle. Very much depends on how far you're riding as well, though. So I mean, if I was riding a little bit further, because I mean the Camelback is like 2.5 liters versus a bottle which is 750. So if I can top up, then I'll top up. If there's opportunity to top up, otherwise you've got to go with the Camelback if you're riding sort of 3 hours plus, which I haven't done so much anymore. I, to be honest, ride a lot more for enjoyment than I do for like being out for hours and hours. So I used to do a big mileage, but not so much anymore. Now I just enjoy the downs and the fun and the ups and the downs, the jumps in the between and yeah, all that good jazz. So that is a lot better and a lot cooler for me. I much prefer that as well. So what do you do, Waffles? Let me know in the comments. Do you prefer water bottle, camelback? What is your preference? Let's have a hop back in there, see if I can answer some more questions. Camelback, nice. Yeah, camelback. Frank, Stefka, camelback as well. Mitchell, yo, what's up? Hi to you, sir. Give me a different in suspension mountain bike. Do you mean hardtail and dual suspension? Yes, Mitchell, I was referring to hardtail and dual suspension. Ahmed, my bike has no suspension. Also, not the end of the world. I think it's a big debate. I'll give you guys my opinion on it quickly, but like between a hardtail and a full suspension. So obviously a hardtail is a bike that might have a fork at the front. Some guys also have rigids, but a full suspension is a bike that has a front fork and a rear shock. So basically it's got at both ends. But a lot of the time, like people also ask me on my videos all the time, they're like, does it make a big difference to a lot of these techniques? And it's pretty important to understand that most of the techniques come from the way you leveraging mechanics in your skills and in your abilities, right? So if, for example, we're going to use a bunny hop, I'll use a bunny hop for this example. If I'm on a full suspension or if I'm on a hardtail, the mechanics of it are basically me shifting my weight down, shifting my weight back, both of which are body movements, right? I then use my body weight to get the front wheel up with straight arms. Again, nothing to do with the bike. Now, the third option comes in. I'm standing my hips up and I'm standing straight, like projecting and exploding my hips upwards using my legs. Again, nothing to do with the bike. Rolling my wrists forward, pushing the bike forward, tilting my feet and sweeping them back and up. Feet back and up could be affected a little bit by whether you've got clips or flats. But overall, again, nothing to do with the bike, right? So the technique, theoretically, if you look at the overall principle of it, is indifferent whether you're on a hardtail or a full suspension. A full suspension, yes, has a little bit more, like with the rear suspension, when I explode upwards with my body, is the rear shock is obviously going to absorb a little bit more of that explosive movement upwards, right? So it's going to absorb a little bit more of that, and maybe I won't go as high. But if I'm on a hardtail, all that force is going straight through my legs, up through the tires, and straight up, and I might bunny hop a little bit higher on a hardtail. But overall, the general gist of what I'm saying is that between a hardtail and a full suspension bike, most of what's happening is coming from your body movements, you allowing the bike to move around underneath you. So yes, the suspension makes a difference, but actually doing techniques and the way you're moving your body, whether you're cornering, whether you're doing all those things, those subtle nuances, a lot of the stuff doesn't have as big of a difference, I think, in people's minds as what they realize. So, you still can apply a lot of the same technique, whether you're on a hardtail versus a full suspension bike as well. So obviously the full suspension, it'll absorb a lot more versus the hardtail, which will be a little bit more jittery and more nimble, but both of the techniques are relatively the same. Anyway, that was a bit of a rant side note. Anyway, back in the chat. My bike has no suspension. I'm thinking of making some small ramps made out of wood, remove some rocks and land, add something else. That is a great idea, Lego. If you can build jumps, dude, build something that you're going to have fun on. That's also a very another important point, Lego. When you're building trails, very, very, very important. Sorry, I skipped over this a little bit earlier, but build something that you want to ride, something that's going to be fun for you. So like I say, when I built jumps back in the day, people often used to come down and my friends would come ride all the time, and I would spend hours building jumps. I would spend hours building, massive like tabletops when I started out, and then I made them dirt jumps and I made the gaps pretty big and all these sort of like in betweens, and the guys would come down and be like, oh, but why is this a tabletop, or why is this a gap jump? I'm like, I built it. I want to have fun on it. This is my jump. So make it something that you want to have fun on and that you will ride a lot. Because if it's something that you enjoy, you'll do it a bunch of times, right? So if you build a jump that you really enjoy, that you're capable on, you'll go then, you'll ride it all the time, and you'll become a better rider. So make sure that you're building trails for you as well when you're doing all these things. And it's something that's going to be fun, because if you're having fun, you're going to do it a bunch of times, you can improve your confidence, and it's overall just going to be a good time on your bike. Yes, anyway. Is it a mountain bike? Oh, I lost my spot there. Heading back, scrolling, guys. Don't worry, bear with me. I'm a little bit slow today, but we will get there. My bike has no suspension. Is it a mountain bike? What is my favorite mountain bike? Mitchell, that is a loaded question, my friend. That is a loaded question. Let me see if I can answer it. Right now, it is the bike I ride, because that's the only one I got. So, but I'm teasing. There is definite favorites. Probably one of my favorite bikes I ever rode was a Common Soul Downhill Supreme. This is a pretty old bike. It used to be a blue frame, And the reason it was one of my favorite bikes, obviously now I'll give you a modern one, but one of my favorite bikes that I ever rode was the Common Soul Supreme downhill. It was this blue frame, and it was, for me, it was my first downhill bike that I was like, wow, like this is an absolute mind blow. This is super, super cool. Like I absolutely love the bike. You know, when you've like thought and dreamt about a bike forever. I mean, I'm sure you guys have got this as well. You guys all froth on bikes. That's why you're all here. And anyway, the maximum bike frothness that came out of that bike. And when I just remember riding it, and it lived up to all the expectations of all the hype and stuff that I'd had from before that. Like it was, dude, it was insane. Like it surpassed all my expectations, and it was just so much better than I'd hoped. And for me, that was one of my favorite bikes. You can go Google it. It was from like, I think like 2015, 2016, somewhere around there. There used to be a blue frame, and then it became like a bright yellow frame as well. That was probably one of my favorite bikes. So nowadays as well, it's super competitive to say like what's a good bike, man. I prefer something that's like a little bit more heavy set. So I always favor like the enduro style bikes nowadays as well, and it's also competitive because I'm not biased to a brand. I don't have a favorite brand that I kind of use. I've ridden a lot of bikes throughout the years. I've ridden Yeti, Common Soul, Morwood is a South African brand. I've ridden some Specialized, I've ridden Trek, I've ridden like a bunch of different bikes, and that was like downhill bikes, enduro bikes. I've ridden Transition, I've ridden Banshee. Like all of them have been really good bikes, but nothing like I said earlier, we've also come to a point where if you're buying an Apple or like Samsung, obviously there's people are going to be biased in this, but either way, you're buying a brilliant phone, right? So if you've bought one of the two, you're buying a brilliant phone. So again, with mountain bikes nowadays, like you're buying stuff, it's different, same, but different, slight, small nuances. I prefer something that's a little bit more heavy set, something that's more progressive in the rear end, so a little bit more progressive suspension. So you get linear suspension and you get progressive suspension. Linear suspension is where the suspension basically feels the same way the whole way through. So if I compress little bit by little bit, or like if I do a big hit, it'll kind of it'll be linear the whole way through the travel. Whereas progressive is if I hit the same obstacle, it'll be softer at the beginning, and then it'll ramp up and get quite a lot harder at the end. So that's just, I don't know if you guys understood that, but yeah, anyway, I prefer a progressive feel just because a little bit like suppler over a lot of the small stuff. And then on the big hits, when you're jumping, when you're hitting like rock gardens, you're over jumping stuff, because I like to be a clown. Apparently, I overjump stuff a lot. I like a little bit more forgiveness on the bike, and I prefer something that's more progressive rather than linear. I feel like linear, when you're cornering, something like when you're cornering into stuff, the bike just like kind of, it feels like dead in corners. You like, you'll come through a corner, you'll pump out, and you're like, you know, it doesn't have any responsiveness. Where if you ride a progressive bike, because it gets harder at the end, it's like you push in, and it gives a little bit of pushback, which I much prefer as well. So yeah, food for thought. I don't know what you guys prefer. Drop it down in the chat. I'll see if I can get through it as well. I love going through mountain bikes and stairs and jumps, but I have a 200 bike with no mods, hardtail, non-glycerin brakes, and the brakes don't work. Mountain bike is so expensive. I agree with you there, Kappa. Sorry, excuse me if I said your name wrong, but yeah, I agree with you. The mountain bikes are outrageously expensive nowadays, man. It's it's pretty nuts. But dude, also hats off for you to riding what you can with what you got, bro. That's another big testament. Like I say, I mean, I've been there. You know, like, rather than moaning about like, oh, I don't have a bike, and some people like to moan of whatever. And if you're getting out there and riding, I take my hat off to you, because you're doing better than most of the people out there. Rather just get out there, ride with what you got. You're going to become a better rider for it, because if you get a better bike one day, you know, imagine the skills you'll have then. You'll know how to handle a bike that, irregardless of whether the bike's got suspension or not. So great bike handling skills. Don't overthink it. Just get out there and practice, have fun. And as long as you're having fun, you're riding those stairs and you've got a smile on your face, you're going to be pretty stoked. So you'll see the video I'm going to pop out next week. You're going to see me riding down the stairs in a road bike, with regret in my face. So yeah, anyway, it'll be a pretty good time. Keep your eye out for that next weekend. Hi, Jairi Sham. I'm not too sure what that means, my friend. Aman from the UK. Yes, sir. Glad to have you in the chat. How do you make the suspension really sensitive on a North Rock mountain bike? I tried turning the caps on top, but that didn't work. Also a hard question to answer without seeing it, because they get so much alternative builds. It is a pretty hard one to answer without context of like knowing exactly what suspension it is. Obviously, a lot of the adjusters and stuff, like mountain bikes do take quite a bit of a beating. So sometimes, like older bikes, they are pretty hard to adjust just because they take quite a lot of hits and like beatings and stuff from being ridden throughout the year. So sometimes it's even good to just go get it checked at like your local bike shop. They might be able to help you, just because sometimes the suspension might stop working. You know, like stuff gives out, stuff gives way. it just takes like an absolute beating over time as well. So if you're feeling like your adjustment knobs might not be doing anything, it maybe is because something has actually gone wrong inside the fork or rear shock or whatever, and it might be a good time to go get it checked out and just go have a look. So yeah, also not a bad one to think about as well. Like I say, but generally with you get like high speed and low speed compression, depending if your bike actually has any of those adjustments, that's also pretty important. Rebound is probably your most important one. So I'll give you guys a quick tip on suspension setup. You've got blue adjustments on them. You'll see most forks and rear shocks nowadays will have a blue adjuster. Any blue knob generally means compression. Any red knob generally means rebound. And in my opinion, rebound is 10 times more important than your compression adjustments. Obviously, compression is important. Don't discredit and say, Dave from ADB Biking said it means nothing. It means a lot. But for me, rebound is a lot more important than your compression. Some people like to overthink their rebound, their compression adjustments, and they'll like end up faffing a little bit too much. Where rebound is a lot more important. So ideally, rebound is how fast when you compress down on your fork. So you've all done the parking lot test. You'll get in your bike and you'll bounce it up and down. How fast, if you compress your fork, how fast it returns, right? So if it comes up like real slow, like you press down, your rebound is very slow. But if you compress it down, it's like it's like a pogo stick, then it means it's too fast, right? So that's very important. And the reason I say that is because that's how it's going to be affecting you on the trail. So if you got a bike, I would definitely recommend just have a look, do a parking lot test. Ideally, if you have a rear shock, you want your suspension to compress down and sit back up into the stroke without bobbing. You never want your suspension to be bobbing. That might be an indicator that it's too fast. And most of the time with rebound, sometimes it'll feel like you're washing out in corners and stuff because the suspension is so fast, it's trying to like push back against you. So you'll be riding a corner, and midway through the corner, it feels like you're almost like sliding out, washing out a little bit. Slow your rebound down a little bit. I would rather always go a touch too slow on your rebound than a touch too fast. That is just a kind of tip that I use and help people out with now and again. If you have rebound, the red adjusters on your fork or your rear shock, play around with them. I don't know if you guys have much experience with that, but yeah, that is a good little bit of food for thought. Anyway, compression. You get high speed and low speed compression as well. They make micro adjustments of how fast the oil is actually allowed through in the shims in your suspension, and basically that just adjusts the feel. So it might feel a touch softer or a touch harder, depending at the top of the stroke or at the bottom of the stroke. Very much in depth. Guys can go Google and YouTube that. For me to explain that now with just these two hands right here would be pretty hard to do. So I don't have little adjusters that I can show you. Otherwise, I look like a DJ. Anyway, I'll be here all day. Anyway, I hope that answers your question. Alternative build. Yeah, like I say, if something's not working, if it feels like it's not working, general protocol would be take it to your local bike shop. That's always a good start. And yeah, they might be able to help you out and just say, okay, cool, this is working, this is not working. Sebs, congrats, man. Love your content. Appreciate you, my friend. How often do I do lives? I have done one for 10K, one for 20K, and one for 30K. I would like to start doing a little bit more because I actually really enjoy it. I love hopping on here with you guys as well. So if you guys enjoy it, let me know now, like, comment, and I will definitely hop on and do some more. My current plan is that I would like to bring in some other people as well. So start getting a couple of guests on, which will be pretty cool. I know a couple of the local like professional downhill guys. I'd love to get them on board and just grill them, question them. You guys can give me some questions. We can give them some questions. Put them under the hot seat a little bit and make grill them, see what their secrets are, how they get so fast, and all that other good jazz. So it'll be pretty cool to get them on board. So I'm trying to see if I can do that, and then you guys don't have to look at my beautiful background here. I'll give you guys a new background at some stage as well, which will be pretty cool. But for now, I've just got the office. So we are here, and as long as you guys are here and stoked, then I'm stoked. Yes, sir. Hope that helps. Donald Turton, what? Yes, sir. He is one of my best buddies as well. He is now in the UK. Very sad about that. And I was chatting about my Commensol earlier. He is actually who got my Commensol, who I sold it to. And anyway, he is one of my good downhill buddies from earlier in the day. So shout out Donald, little pink hand. I don't know why he commented that. Maybe, I don't know. We'll leave it in the chat. For the shock to be progressive, it needs to have low speed and high speed compression adjustments. Sebs, for the shock, does it need to have? No, not necessarily. It just depends on the actual type of the shock or the bike itself. So sometimes people set that up with the leverage ratio as well, can also be a good indicator of whether it becomes more progressive or not. So that's also, you can check that out in the specs when you buy bikes as well. You'll see it'll say it's either linear or more progressive. Yeah. Greg M2B, what's up, dude? Greg M2B is actually the dude who won the Liat. We did a Liat glove giveaway last time on the last live stream. So if any of you guys were out there in the last live stream, blah, 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 blah. Don't worry, guys. I promise I know words. It's coming eventually. Greg ended up winning a set of those gloves, so shout out to him. I hope he's enjoying them. He actually, dude, it was such a cool story. He ended up sending me a picture of what his current gloves look like, and they were trash. So I am super stoked that he ended up getting them. It is pretty cool. So shout out to Liat MTB for hooking me up with gloves to send to him. And yeah, I'm glad they went to someone that needed them, and hopefully in a good home. So yeah, let me know how they went, Greg. Are they working? Are they good? Drop it down in the comments. Just switched to clipless, and I'm finding it difficult to transition from one to the other. I'm struggling to whip is big and overall just more uncomfortable. I notice you're also in clipped in. Any tips? Okay, yes, sir. This is a very interesting debate, and strap yourself in, and we can definitely tackle this one quickly. So, clips versus flat, right? This is the age-old debate of transitioning and going between clips, flats. Do you not? Obviously a very important one as well. So pros and cons. First of all, when people are learning, 100% you should learn on flats. I fully back people learning on flats. I learned on flats, so it is what I know. I have seen people learn on flats. I have got feedback from people who have learned on flats and then also transitioned to clips. It is also the age-old debate, and I was nervous more because of other people and what other people would tell you about clips. You know, clips is often one of those ones that gets a bit of a bad stigma about it, because you often hear say, you know, everyone else tells you, are you going to transition to clips? You just be careful. You're going to tip over sideways and you're going to crash and you're not going to unclip. And I'm like, have you got any experience in that field? Has that happened to you? And most people are like, no. And from somebody who has ridden clips now for a very long time, I don't even notice that I'm in clips anymore. Even if I do crash as well, you know, whether I'm on clips or I'm on flats, it is almost irrelevant. I am completely indifferent now as to whether I crash. So the risk to reward, I don't think is that big. Sometimes if you tip over, yes, your foot might get stuck or whatever, but most of the time it'll clip out. Not something that you should overthink. However, it is very much a interesting transition when you go from flats to clips, because all of a sudden you're attached to the bike. First point of call is what clips you have. So like me, I don't like my foot feeling super clipped in and super solid. Shimano, the feel of the clip. I rode Shimano for about a year. Didn't like it. You clip in and it's like your foot doesn't move. There's no float. I think in a lot of the ones nowadays, they have allowed for a lot more float, but I prefer the Crank Brother mallets or Crank Brothers in general, because Crank Brothers allow your foot to float a little bit. So you're still clipped in, but it allows the foot to move around a little bit more. I find that little sense of freedom of my feet actually being able to move a little bit gives me a little bit of freedom, a lot more confidence when I'm clipped in. Sometimes I don't like the feeling of my foot just being like so set, like you almost can't move it. So my foot's almost moving inside the shoe, which I don't like. So very important as well, when you're starting out with clips, Greg, is another thing to consider what clips you have. And if you have the option, try 2 or 3 brands if you can. So if you've got a buddy that's got Crank Brothers, or if you've got a buddy that has ride Shimano, or you know, Time or whatever, try a couple other brands as well. It's also just like an interesting thought process, but try a couple other clips as well. You might not just be gelling with the clips that you're in right now. So for example, if you went straight into Shimano, that's your first experience, hop onto a buddy's set of Crank Brothers and see if that potentially works for you and is a good adjustment. It might be a nice one, just food for thought as well. Anyway, next topic of clips versus flats. Flats allow great ability to understand what your feet should be doing, when they should be doing. So for example, where your feet should be on the pedals. Most of the time, I prefer the ball of my foot across the axle of the pedal. That's your general good protocol. Even on flat pedals as well, because you can sink your ankles nicely. It's just a good power spot. Your calves can be nice and relaxed from there. And learning as well, because when you're bunny hopping, when you're jumping, it's a little bit more risk. And in your mind, you obviously now I can get my feet off a little bit easier. So if you're jumping and you're dirt jumping, it's a great idea to have flats. Obviously with clips, when you are clipped in, it's a little bit different. So like Greg was saying, when he's whipping, because when you're whipping, your feet are actually turning as well. So with a whip, you'll turn your handlebars off the lip and you'll turn your hips into the technique, but your feet will actually turn as well. So it's a little bit more uncomfortable. Like I found it as well, that my feet will unclip, but it is something I did get used to, and it is something I'm very aware of, and I can whip just as comfortably now with clips versus without clips, but it takes a little bit of time. So Greg, my advice to you, it took me months to a year to get used to clips, I would say, before I was fully comfortable enough to do everything else that I kind of comfortable and happy with now. Otherwise, it took a long time. It isn't a quick adjustment. I rode clips, I rode flats for about 4 years, and I made the decision because I was racing downhill, and I was like, okay, cool. I think a good thing for me is, like, I'd heard a lot of people and it suggested that I try clips, and a buddy of mine borrowed me a set of clips, and I hopped on the clips and I ended up riding them for, I think, about a month, and I was like, it's good and it's bad. And then I went back and I rode flats again after. I was like, how was I riding with flats? Is because when you're on there, once you get used to clipping in, it is a lot more comfortable. It is a lot more stable. You just feel like your feet don't move around, especially when you start riding a little bit rougher terrain. And I find I can float the bike a little bit easier. So, kind of unweighting a little bit easier. And for my sort of general pace, I found a little bit more comfortable. I didn't have to fight and compress so hard. Like, I could be a little bit lighter on the bike. So in terms of like actual trail and downhill and flowing and stuff, like, I much prefer clips. Whereas if you have access to dirt jumps, I would still go ride with flat pedals just to get comfortable with that. And again, Greg, like, if you're whipping and you'll see when you're whipping on flat pedals, your toes will still turn to kind of create friction into the pedals. So you still need to be doing those techniques and not just relying on your clips to actually do the movement of the bike out underneath you. Food for thought. Anyway, social shred. Busy cleaning up my garage while listening. Absolute big fan, my friend, of you as well. Shout outs, always much appreciated. And good Sunday cleaning out the garage. It's one of those good Monday feelings when you've achieved something on a Sunday and bike's already, garage is ready for the next day. Real Deadpool Gaming, South African, and I have a dual shock bike with thick tires. Nice, man. Shout out to all the South African homies. Apparently we got a bunch of dudes in here from all over the show, which is pretty cool. England, Poland, a couple of other dudes. So South Africans, y'all know what's up. Where in South Africa you from? Real Deadpool Gaming. And hope you're getting out to go ride. Hope you guys all got out to go ride today. Pretty good day for it, for all the South Africans or Western Capers. Like I said, we've all been just getting blasted with the rain. So I think everybody was pretty stoked. That's why the stoke level is high in South Africa today, because everyone was able to go ride their bikes for a change instead of just getting rained on. I don't know how you guys in England do it, man. You guys are absolute animals for just riding no matter the weather. Beasts, absolute beasts. Greg, to be looped out for a couple wheelie without going clipping too. Do you have any tips to gain confidence and flow? All right, yeah. Okay, so the wheelie is definitely a hard one when you clipped in, right? So that is a little bit more risk to reward. So that one, unfortunately, does require a little bit of time and confidence. And tips for that, like I say, I think repetition, man. Repetition for, like, just doing stuff over and over. Unfortunately, the nature of mountain biking is one of those sports where you're going to tip over 10 times and it's going to suck. And then all of a sudden you're going to stop tipping over and it's going to get a lot better. And it's going to get a little bit easier. But, that learning curve, it's a foundation that you're going to lay that kind of needs to be there. And whether if you tip over once and you crash and you learn from that and you try it again a little bit, and you build your confidence up again, but you know where your tipping point is for next time, that's the silver lining of what you want to take away from that. So unfortunately, it is practice, repetition, getting comfortable, and maybe also just go, like, don't try, like, if you're going dirt jumping, go dirt jump, like, in your clips, get used to it, but maybe don't throw the whips excessively big, just so that you can get a little bit more comfortable with riding the clips before you dive into the flats as well. So, like, just get used to actually riding the clips a little bit more as well, and don't go too big, too fast in them. I remember when I'd been riding clips for about a year and a half, and I was fortunate enough to go to Morsey. And because I'd ridden flats, by this stage I've been riding for like 5-6 years, and I'd been riding flats for most of that. So I said, okay, cool, I'm going to Morsey, and the weather forecast was terrible. It was like, okay, raining, like bucketing with rain. The trails are going to be an absolute, like, shit show. It is going to be wet from, like, beginning to start, or start to end. Guys, I promise you I actually know English at some stage. Anyway, from start to end. So I said, okay, cool. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pack my flats in, and I'm going to go in, like, just so that I can have them there. Anyway, so we get over to Morsey, and it is bucketing with rain. So I'm like, I'm not riding my clips here. There's no chance. Anyway, so the first day I put my flats on, and it is probably the worst day I've ever had on a bike, like a bicycle, like, in my life. As far as I can, like, even when I think back now, every single, like, I was coming through and I just wasn't used to the size of the berms, the holes, the ruts, the jumps, the wetness, everything was just too much. And I realized, like, my feet were just blowing off, dude. Like, I was riding through these massive berms with these braking ruts that were like the size of my wheel, And because I didn't have clips, my feet were just blowing off at every opportunity. And because it was wet, like I couldn't sit down or slipping off the saddle, and it was just absolute chaos. I went back home and I put my clips on the next day, and I probably had one of the funnest days I've ever had on my bike. And I didn't realize that I'd become so comfortable on clips. So yeah, my best advice for Greg is for confidence is it's going to take a little bit of time. Give it the better part of a couple months. Try and make sure, like I say, figure out if you want a little bit more float, maybe give Crank Brothers or a different brand a try. I'm not sure offhand of the others floats or like how Shimano is nowadays, but I know Shimano for me is still quite a fixed feel, and I don't personally prefer that. So also just food for thought. I don't know what you're using, but yeah, like I say, a little bit of practice, a little bit of repetition goes a long way in terms of building your confidence for that. So yeah. All right, let's have a look here. Now, how to set up suspension in 60 seconds. Woo! Okay, I think I'm actually going to do a video of that. That is, I thought you wanted me to give you a recap now, but yeah, setting up your suspension in 60 seconds. That is a great video suggestion. I'm going to make that one happen, and actually pretty soon. I think that's a pretty important one as well. So, and then, like I say, it's setting up your suspension is like, for me, is probably one of the most important things about a bike. Your tire pressure and your suspension. Those are probably like two of your most important things, is because like they can dictate how your ride is going to go. The reason I say that is, like, I've coached a lot of people as well, and it still baffles me that when you buy a bike from a shop, they don't tell you what tire pressure to run, and they don't set your suspension up for you, which is mind-boggling. And I'm like, does the shop not know how to set up suspension, or do they just kind of leave their customer floating? Anyway, the reason I say that is because with tire pressure, for example, you get too soft and you get too hard. So somebody who has very little to no experience and maybe doesn't know that they need to adjust their tire pressure and is running like an excessively low tire pressure, and that tire is just rolling sort of around, and like every time you turn, that like the tire is just folding. The tire relies on the actual air pressure inside of it to maintain a level of stability. So when you're riding, it can actually like fold and conform to the trail. But if it's too soft, it's going to fold and wrap underneath. And if it's too hard, then it's basically like riding a permatube. You're riding that thing, and it's just it needs to actually like fold over like rocks and stuff as well. There needs to be like a little bit of give, but if it's too hard, it's not doing that either. So then it feels like it's like a hardtail, like a rigid. So everything's going to feel like excessive, and it's a little bit more bumpy. So there's two ends of it as well. So obviously I'll do this in a shorter video as well. So there's like a happy medium of setting up your tire pressure as well, that you obviously like need to be within, right? So like sometimes there's too soft, there's too hard, there's a whole bang shoot. And then suspension, for me, like I was saying earlier, for me, suspension rebound is probably one of the most important things on your bike, right? Because if you hit a jump, or even if you back it up a few steps, you get your first dual suspension bike, you go out for a ride on the trails, and you're riding down and you're just pogoing, you're up and down and up and down and up and down, and you're like, oh, this is, is this feeling right? Is this not feeling right? You hit the corner and it's popping you out of every corner, and you're a little bit all over the show. Also, this must look hilarious on the trail. I'm sitting on a bouncy ball right now, so this is great for me getting my point across. But anyway, so you come around and it's like excessive through the corners, and it's all over the show, and like all you had to do was slow your rebound. So every time you hit a corner, it's like dunk, dunk, and it just kind of absorbs a little bit more, and the suspension starts doing what it's supposed to do. So it's actually very important. Like, you don't want the suspension rebounding so fast that it's like you're riding like a pogo stick. I mean, I could imagine nothing worse than riding something like a pogo stick down a trail. Obviously, just like you have to be a little bit creative with your mind here, but the gist of it is that you understand is that you're not like bouncing up and down the whole way down the trail, because it's going to feel terrible. You want the suspension to be doing the work and absorbing the stuff down the trail. So yeah, I definitely think that's a great idea. I will put that suspension set up in 60 seconds. I'll make that happen within the next month. You can keep an eye on the channel for that. So yeah, that's definitely in the pipeline as well. Like I say, for now, you're going to see me, hopefully you're going to get a good laugh out of next week with seeing me ride a road bike downstairs, and like the regret in my face. So anybody who's in here watching the live stream, you're going to see, keep an eye on the regret that's going through my face when I'm riding down those stairs, because yeah, pretty funny. Anyway, let's have a look. I'm going to hop back into there. They're so sick, fit like a glove. Greg MTB, that is straight dad joke energy. I love it. Yeah, stem cap has leveled up my POVs. Awesome, dude. I love it as well. Epic, 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 epic. That is rad. Galen MTB, how's it to you too, my friend? Socials, awesome. Anytime, brother. Much appreciated. Anyway, guys, I think I'm going to wrap up for the day. That is pretty rad. I would love to hop on another live stream pretty soon with you guys. Like I say, if you got any comments, I'm always free. Hit me up in the DMs. on Instagram. Like I know Instagram's a little bit easier to get a hold of me, but if you guys have any questions outside of this, like I say, I'm always there. Go check out my website. I just launched my website a little while ago. You guys, if you got a little bit of feedback for me, that'll also be great. Like I say, I'm here for you guys. If you got video ideas, wanting help, I'm your guy. And yeah, appreciate you guys spending a bit of time with me this Sunday. Like I say, much appreciated. Always feel the love as well. So yeah, this is all because of you guys. So yeah, much appreciated that you guys are hopping in here. And I hope you have a lovely Sunday. And yeah, anyway, bless, peace out. See you on the flip side. Rubber side down. Much love.